everyone, Justine the Twilight Stamper, and today it's Friday, which means the last day of the 3 Cards 1 Stamp series for this month, featuring the Botanical Love Stamp from Create a Smile Stamps. Now I had kind of messed around with this idea for a little while and I wanted to do something with watercolor, and I was thinking of doing a no-line watercolor, but then I decided that it would be better if I just had lines. Let's face it, I'm not the most artistic person as far as freehand goes, so I totally understand all the people who shy away from watercolor at the moment. Alright, so I'm just going to be stamping. I'm using archival ink from Ranger. It's an oil-based ink that resists water, so it's okay to do watercoloring with from what I've been working with. I haven't had an issue with it yet. I'm going to be stamping this all along my card front. So I stamped this large flower in various mounts onto the card base, and I stamped this 3 times onto the card. One in the bottom corner, and then off to the side, and then off to the bottom. And I decided that it looked a little plain just leaving it like this, so I decided to incorporate this small flower as well from the same stamp set. I knew that when I did this I would have to put some sort of stems into it, and that's what gave me the idea to do kind of a wash behind the watercolor as well, which I thought really turned out neat, and we'll go more into detail on that as the card tutorial goes on. Now it's time for the coloring, and I decided to speed you up a little bit. I'm using Inktense pencils from that I bought from Amazon, and you can get these kind of everywhere. They're really intense pencils that can be used with watercolor. Because once you add some water to them, they really spread out quite far, which is the reason why I'm actually only coloring kind of around the base of the flower here, because it's not necessary to color the whole flower. That's how awesome these pencils are, and they go a really long way with a little amount of color. Now I kind of went in and added more and more detail. So I wanted to add kind of a dark color to the edge of the petal and then go towards the outer edge of the petal, if that makes sense, to create sort of a wash look, so it's dark in the middle and then goes out lighter. And then I decided to add a couple of different tones into the petals. So in the middle there, you can see I'm going in and I'm adding a different color, or I'm making that more intense. Adding a couple on this side here, I added a couple of different colors. Anyway, I added some green on the inside of all the petals, and I added 2 little stems, as you can see, for those other flowers that are kind of floating in the middle of nowhere. And I'm taking my watercolor brush now, and I'm just going through and bringing that color from the base to the front of the flower. I am using watercolor paper, so I'm not too concerned about the smudging of it, and if it goes outside the lines, then it just looks even more like a watercolor painting. So I'm just going through and I'm bringing the color again from the middle of the flower to the outer edges. And as you can see, that watercolor and those pencils are going a really long way. So I went in and colored the yellow, and then I decided to continue onto this big flower. I went through all the middle here and created sort of a wash in the center. And then I brought that pink down from the top of the flower down towards the base, and then I brought the base towards the pink that we just spread over. And I think that made a really, really cool look with that flower. I'm doing the same thing to the bottom, just bringing it from the middle of the flower to the top, and then I'm going in with the little flowers. I'm not spending a lot of time on this, but I think it looks quite stunning. At this point, it is really important to dry your watercolor because we're going to be working with the green. And if you end up picking up some more of the pink and purple, which you will if you directly go in there, then it's going to make sort of a muddy brown color, and you don't want that. So with quite a bit of water, I'm going in here and I'm grabbing that green, I'm making that stem, and I'm just creating sort of a wash. I'm bringing it out from the flower and then going back in with more water to make it sort of, to kind of fade out into the actual card. By adding more and more water, you're going to get a lighter look, and you're going to detensify those colors. I thought this made it look a lot more like a bush scene, sort of, you could say, instead of them just floating on my card, and I really like the way that this turned out. I'm getting more and more comfortable with watercolor now that I've been practicing more, and I have a whole watercolor series that I'll link to in the corner. And you can check those out as well. And I really haven't done a lot of watercolors. I would say maybe about 15 cards, and I'm already able to do quite a bit with it. It's just more of a playing with it and getting to know your mediums. I'm just going to speed this up here a little bit again, and I just keep grabbing more and more water to go in, and I decided to add another green color to the mix. So I grabbed one of my other pencils, and I'm actually just applying water directly to the pencil and then applying it to the paper. And that works as well. I took a paper towel to take up any sort of spots of water that are all over my card. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a black card base. My card base measures 4¼ by 5½ inches and it's a top folding card. I'm going to grab my Tombow Mono Blue for this. I really want a strong liquid adhesive because the paper did warp a little bit because I didn't have it taped down because we were working on the side of it, so it wasn't really possible to tape the whole paper down and make it not warp. So I just held my hand there for a couple of seconds to give it a really strong bond, and that ended up working, and a couple hours later as I looked at the card, it didn't really warp, so that turned out really well. Now that I'm finished, I need to add my sentiment, so I grabbed the Smile stamp from the same stamp set, inked it up with black Simon Says stamp ink this time, and then I just stamped it off to the side of these small flowers. But the sentiment looked really nice. I don't think I've ever put a sentiment in this place on a card before, and I really like the way that that sat kind of in the flowers there. So that's the end of my card tutorial today. I hope you enjoyed the watercolor tutorial and the end of the 3 cards 1 stamp series for March. I'll see you again in April for this series. Here you're welcome to subscribe to my channel, and I have links to the other 2 cards I created this week using the Botanical Love stamp set. All my supplies are listed below in the description. Thanks so much for watching.